Okay, great. Lindsay, thank you so much for joining us. I really, really appreciate your willingness to talk with us a little bit about the Matrix Guard and what we're doing here.
I am so excited. I've been thrilled about this whole idea since the beginning, so I'm excited to help out.
And your enthusiasm has been one of our sources of nourishment and enthusiasm, shared enthusiasm too, because it's just really, it is contagious. So I'm going to start with a little bit about you and just invite you to tell us, from the perspective of what we might not know about you. Any answers to your questions are greatly appreciated.
All right.
So in one word, how would a good friend describe you?
In one word, I think a good friend would describe me as tenacious.
Tenacious. Love that word. So when you think about yourself as a professional and you think about when people ask you that question, like, what do you do for a living? What do you do professionally? How do you answer that question?
Today, I answered that question. When people ask me professionally what I do, I am a researcher in hope. I've learned all about the science of hope, and I teach people to use hope to motivate action in their lives.
Love it. And I want to sign up for that class. Oh, I already did, right?
Wait a minute.
Your podcast, it's awesome. It's a great way to learn about what you've learned. And you do such a great job of balancing that human side with sort of the academics and the science. It's really fascinating and worth listening to.
Well, thanks. It's really fun to do. It's the part of my job that lights me up the most. Meeting inspirational people and sharing with them just a different perspective on hope and what we can do, how we can use that in a real tangible, practical way. It's definitely what lights me up.
Yeah, I love that. And it shows. All right. So as we look out into the world and consider lots of different perspectives, I think we each look at the world through multiple lenses. So in addition to your role as a researcher in hope, what other key perspectives orient you to the world?
I believe that I see the world through the eyes of a caregiver. I am someone who wants to teach and to help and to solve problems.
Caregiver, teacher, and problem solver. I love all of those. Those are great. Those are great. One of the parts of the Matrix Guard mission is to create an epic fellowship of unstoppable heroes. We are huge fans of the construct that in the belief that within each of us is a heroic potential. And as part of our learning a little bit more about all the people in the world and how people come about seeing heroism and heroic things that other people do, we love to ask people about who their hero was when they were little and what you were most inspired by those heroes.
When I was little, my hero was my dad. Even as an adult, my hero is my dad. He and I think alike. He's the one that's taught me everything I know about action and planning and confidence. He really taught me and my sisters that we could be anything in the world that we want to be, and I believe him.
Wow. And you're a living example of that. That's amazing. And so he was your hero even when you were little. You got that message that you could really become whoever you wanted.
Yeah, he absolutely taught us that there was nothing in the world that would stop us as long as we worked hard and went about it in a real smart way, learned what we could, used others along the way, and helped and supported others, took them on the journey with us. There wasn't anything we couldn't do.
I love that. I love the concept of taking others on the journey with you for the better.
Yeah.
Now that you're an adult, so it sounds like your dad is still your hero for all the same reasons. Is there anything about your construct of what makes a hero that's changed as an adult?
I think the magic of heroism as an adult has changed a little bit from when I was a kid. As a kid, it was sort of blind faith in people you saw, or in people that were modeling behaviors that you wanted to be, but there really wasn't much behind that. As a kid, I didn't understand what that looked like. So now as an adult, I can be much more discerning about my heroes, and Dad is still definitely my hero. His values and his integrity still shine so much, and I can see that in how he behaves, and I can put the two together, where as a kid, that's sort of not a construct that we really understand as kids.
So you understand a little bit more about why he's still your hero, why he was then and why he is now.
Yeah. I understand why I've connected what I always believed I wanted to model my behavior against with why I want to model my behavior against that.
Yeah, that's great. Those are great insights. All right, so when we think about heroes, we think about them overcoming challenges, in besting moments of difficulty, finding a redemptive course of action from something that could have been a deterrent or would have been for other people. Has there been a time in your life that you can think of where you had a heroic challenge and you overcame it in a way that made you stronger?
I'm a supporter of someone in my family who struggles with mental health. And when we started on this journey 3 years ago, there was just so much I didn't know, couldn't understand, and simply couldn't relate to in a meaningful way. I've been intentional with my curiosity, my compassion, and my learning. And that's really, I think, what's made me successful in my heroic journey.
Oh, I love that. Intentional with your curiosity and compassion. Those are wonderful attributes. And I think that experience of not knowing until you're in it. I mean, hearing about stories of other people going through something and the difference of what it feels like to actually be in it, in that place. Is there anything specific that you learned in that journey about really loving somebody who is having challenges with mental health that has lit your way forward now that you know it?
I truly believe that compassion has the power to change the world. The non-judgment, the openness that I have really had to consciously employ in my life to recognize that all of my preconceived notions about what mental illness was, what it means to be mentally well or mentally unwell, that curiosity, that intentional curiosity, was the biggest eye-opening for me. The ability to put myself in my family's shoes and my husband's shoes to try to empathize with how he was feeling so that I could better respond and better respond to him in a way that would better support him, but also respond in a way that would better support my own mental well-being.
Yeah, that is an important component, being the caretaker and being on both parts of it. We're all on both parts of it, right? So in every single interaction, it's not even like in every moment we are both the ones who are offering help in some way and also needing help, and that needing to take care of yourself so that you can be generous with supporting somebody else is such a great example of doing that. And the rapidity with which we fluctuate back and forth in those two roles is just it's such an unidentified part of the world of the human experience, but yet it's so important. And I love how you explain that.
Well, thanks. I never recognized how important it was, the harmony that needs to exist between caregiving for others and also caretaking of myself. That it's not about balance, because I don't think balance is a thing, but the harmony between the two and being able to flex depending on my needs, depending on his needs, whatever the situation called for, being able to flex that as the situation happened.
I love that. All right, so turning our attention a little bit to the Matrix Guard and what we're doing. I know you know about this, so you've already had some information, and I'm going to just share with you, in essence, a quick reminder of what we're doing and how we're describing that, and then invite you to think through the lenses of the researcher, as a researcher in hope, as someone who has been in a caretaking position and has also found ways to take care of yourself so that you could have a harmonized approach to that. Get some input from you on what your thoughts are around the Matrix Guard.
Yeah, that's great.
All right, so as you know, we are creating an epic fellowship of unstoppable heroes. These heroes are really engaged in a mission to make mental wellness more accessible, and our special focus is really on youth and young adults, the place where people don't necessarily know that they need help, don't know if they do know that they need help, aren't sure how to get it, aren't sure if these are their people, feel a lot of stigma and reluctance to want to be able to reach out to somebody, and also where they have a part of them that wants to be helpful to others and they don't always know how to do that. So that harmonization that you talked about, it's on both ends. So we want to make this accessible and reduce the stigma around mental wellness. The way we're doing that is going to where people are. So in this case, we're really using social media platforms, and specifically we're starting with Twitch, which is an online platform where 15 million users a day. It was inconceivable to me that this existed and I had never heard of it, but 15 million people a day are gaming, teaching each other how to cook, interacting around painting, music, crafts, all sorts of different activities. Although I would say today it's still primarily gaming. So that platform was really the inspiration for this. Watching people interact on that platform and seeing the degree to which people wanted community and longed for connection and relationships and how important it was for them to meet and be with people who were like them really inspired and sparked the idea that if we could figure out a way to go to them and extend those connections and to bring in professionals and people who are trained to be able to really meet people where they are, make that connection and stay with them on the journey, that we would really have a way to meaningfully impact the world. So that's our mission.
I love it. So aligned to it.
Do you have any questions about that or anything that needs to be clarified?
No, not at all. I think you and I have talked a lot, and I have a pretty basic understanding. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, great. So as you think about that, as a professional, as a hope researcher, what reactions and thoughts do you have about our mission?
The most important part of your mission for me, the part that always twigs in my mind, is the idea of community and meeting people where they're at. I love your inclusive approach, your truly grassroots approach to this whole thing. TMG's mission, the Matrix Guard's mission of already participating in a community that really works for people. That is the sweet spot, I think, that you'll be really successful in.
Great. Thank you so much. Do you have, as you think about what we're doing, is there anything that you think we should consider as we grow?
I just think as you grow, something to consider is to continue to include champions from the communities you're engaged in. So, if you're focusing on Twitch first, are there Twitch community members that can spread the message on your behalf? And as you go into the other social media platforms, finding those champions of your mission that can share the message with their peers as well.
That's a great point. I think they have a voice, an influence, and a trust within their own communities that no one, we are on Twitch. We actually stream on Twitch. We have a channel on Twitch, and we interact with other people on Twitch, but collecting champions and ambassadors who can bolster us and underscore our credibility and the degree to which we're one of them, I think is a really great suggestion. As a human, from the perspective of being somebody who obviously has lived a few years on the planet well enough to speak so articulately, what reactions do you, from a human perspective, reactions or suggestions do you have for the Matrix Guard's mission?
As a human, my number one reaction is this is so well needed. I love all the conversations that we're having about mental health and about mental well-being in our culture these days, and we just have so much more ways to go. I think mental well-being, we need to continue opening those doors, those conversations, and I think the work the Matrix Guard is giving people the reasons, the ways to open those doors, and I think that's just so key.
Great, thank you. We agree with you. If you were asked to explain the matrix guard in 1 to 2 sentences, because we haven't been able to figure out how to do it, we're asking everyone we're interviewing to see if they can figure out how to describe it in 1 to 2 sentences. How would you describe what we're doing?
The Matrix Guard is a community of people meeting people where they're at to support and increase level of mental well-being.
Love it. I'm going to have to write that down. Okay, great. Thank you so much. All right, so we've learned a lot about you, heard your perspectives on what we're doing with Matrix Guard. Is there anything we didn't think to ask you or didn't know to ask you that you would like to comment on or share with us?
I think there's just so much good that you guys are doing in the world. I love to be a part of it, and I love that you're actioning and not just talking about it. Your walk really matches your talk, and that I think that's just something so awesome about what the Matrix Guard is doing, is you're actually implementing solutions to help people increase their mental well-being. And how can that be a bad thing?
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I love how you tie back to the hope motivates action and the importance of action. That's come up a couple times in, with your dad and with how you operate in the world, and even how you took on the mental wellness of your loved one. I mean, really, doing is the most important part, and as we do, we begin to learn, and as we learn, we get better. And so that idea that you see us acting in service of this vision is really, it feels really great to hear you say that, so thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so we would love to end with just a fun question, something that I certainly have never been asked in an interview. Perhaps you have, but I'm going to invite you to tell us, what is your favorite smell and why?
My favorite smell is definitely what it smells like outside after it rains in my city. I have never smelled anything as crisp and clean and sort of fresh and green. I don't know, it smells wet and new, and I know it sounds ridiculous. In all the places I've ever lived in the world, nothing smells like it does after it rains here. And it's just, I don't know, it's just, yeah, new.
And where would we travel to partake in this crisp, clean, fresh, green, wet, new smell?
You need to come to Calgary, Alberta, Canada in around May, June time of year, particularly in June.
All right, particularly in June. All right, that sounds like a beautiful place to be in June. So I think, I can't imagine that wouldn't become one of my favorite smells if I was actually there too. As you describe it, it reminds me a little bit of the rainforest when we were in Australia. It was very similar. I had very similar sensations to that. So, okay, well, thank you so very much. So, Lindsay, I know you do a podcast. Do you want to tell people about your podcast so that they can follow you as well?
Oh, I would love to. Thank you very much. So the favorite part of my job as an expert in hope is I get to interview inspiring people who are using hope to motivate action. So I have the second season is launching next week, and it is full of really ordinary, wonderful, dynamic humans doing really cool things, and they talk about really actionable ways that you can implement hope in a practical, rational way in your life as well.
And I understand that you decided to let yourself be in the hot seat too, and some of the interviews are actually other experts interviewing you so that we can benefit from all that you've learned.
They are, absolutely. So we flip the script, and I get a chance to answer some questions that the interviewees have about hope and its connection to the world. So some of the topics are hope and physical health, hope in kids, hope and innovation. There's a particularly interesting topic on hope in the workplace and hope related to leadership. Yeah, it's very cool. I like it a lot.
Lindsay, I am so glad you're out in the world doing the things that you're doing. I am inspired by your work. And as I said before, I think your excitement and enthusiasm for what we're doing, I can just plug into that when I start to think, okay, this is a lot and there's many parts and pieces to that. And I appreciate very much you being such a great champion and ambassador for our work.
Well, meeting you has been a highlight of the last few months of my life, and I so appreciate all the work that you guys are doing, and I'm just pleased to be involved in any way that I can.
All right, thank you so much. I promise I will keep you involved through all the days of action that lay ahead.
That's awesome.
All right, thank you so much.
Take care.